What is going on, beautiful people? We got another beautiful, powerful compilation episode for y'all. We are currently in Aruba, which we highly recommend.
Yes, so far, so great.
Definitely make sure y'all check it out. But again, we wanted to make sure we can still provide y'all powerful and intentional tips along your wealth journey. So we have a beautiful compilation video. I've literally sat through for hours going through some of our best content with couples, right? These are melanated married millionaires or millionaires in the making who have started a business, who are investing in 401k accounts, Roth IRA accounts, 529 accounts, buying real estate, starting trucking companies on their spiritual wealth journey. It's a nice wide range of different couples who are all on their grind. Take a watch. We'll see you on the other side. Ready, Queen?
I'm ready.
Let's get into the episode. Over 50% of Black Americans are unmarried, and only 2% of Black families in America have a net worth over $1 million.
We are on our journey to not only join that 2%, but grow that 2%.
Facts. I'm Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, with my beautiful co-host.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. You can go to our website at them4show.com, our Instagram at them4show, and our YouTube channel at Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making.
And welcome to the M4 Show. How about on your side, Miss Rhonda, Miss Snooks?
Since the last time that we talked, I started my master's program. So
come on, slight flex. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, so on a daily, I'm trying not to take everybody's head off in the house.
Amen.
So
Amen.
Fight the good fight over there, sir. Fight the good fight.
Wow, they drive me crazy, but it's okay. It's all good,
Diaphragm.
Yeah. No. Well, now that, thank you, Sinclair. Something else that she's gonna help me with. So yeah, that's all good.
Yep. So I wanna kind of jump into it. This is a question that has been new to the rebranded podcast that I try to ask as many people as possible. And the question is, do you believe every what's funny, Queen?
I know the way it's coming. I like the way you answer it, the way you ask it is like, that we disagree on this.
yes, we do disagree on this answer. Do you believe that every family / couple should have a business? What is y'all's take on it as individuals or as a couple?
That every family should have a business?
Yes.
No.
We got another one, folks. We got another one.
I don't. I mean, I think that because we share blood and we're family, that people think that we're supposed to do certain things. And no, I just don't, because just because I got your blood doesn't mean that you're a good partner for me, that we even like each other. You know what I'm saying? So no.
So, so I'm a yes and no. I don't believe that
it's yes or no, baby. You can't do both.
Gemini, that can be yes and no.
See, that's what I go through. Go ahead.
The Gemini answer is no, I do not believe that every couple should have a business together. But yes, I do.
Family, not just a couple.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry.
And no, but yes, I do believe that every couple or family should have a brand.
What's the difference? Educate folks. What's the difference between a business and a brand?
You can have a business that can be extremely generic. Just because you have a hamburger business or a restaurant business, there should be a brand. The brand speaks to what's unique about that individual. People should be able to see the brand and have an idea. It should emote something, right? It should give them some kind of feeling. When I say that, for instance, when I talk about Married into Crazy, we want people to understand that when we talk Married into Crazy, that it stands for something. There's 5 pillars. But we want every family, when they hear about Declare, when they hear about, your family, they should know that you stand for something. Your brand should stand for something. And that's what I believe in. I believe that every family should have a brand that stands out, that enters the room before you do. But having a business together, that's a completely different thing.
Got you. I like the added value of the brand in there. That wasn't a part of the discussion before, but I like that every family should have a brand. People should know you for something. You should have your values that are put out into the world. I'll get that. Now, but both of y'all said no to the business, though. You know, in my opinion, you know, just speaking it, I think families should have a sustained way of creating wealth for themselves, whether that's for real estate, whether that's stocks, whether that is a fashion brand or a podcast show. As like, you know, as families, we're constantly making economic decisions all the time, right? So why not just have a business together? That way we can take advantage of tax deductions together. We can take advantage of group economics together. That is my strong stance.
And I have initially was kind of strongly like, no, it's just not for everybody. But I think after we hashed it out on one of our episodes, I landed on, I don't know that every family or couple needs to start a business outside of their household. But I do believe that if you don't have a business, your household should be run like a business, if that makes sense. So like, you have income coming in, you have expenses, you have goals, you have a 5-year plan, you have, a way to pass that household wealth down to your kids, right? I do think that should be in place, even if it's just your household family expenses. I think it's important to like get folks involved, get your kids involved, right? And be able to have a systematic way to pass down wealth within your family. So in that sense, like your household almost should be a business. And I do think that every family should operate in that way. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that every family needs to go out and like start a podcast or run a restaurant or anything like that. But I do feel like even if you don't, that you can still run your family or run your household as a business.
I like that.
Yeah. I like both of them. Yeah. They both make sense. Actually, so good job.
So thank you. 5 points for Gryffindor over here. We'll take it. We'll take it. So y'all as a family and as a couple have decided to start a brand and a business. Can you kind of talk through your early mindset to why y'all wanted to kind of even go on this entrepreneurship journey together? Well, she looked right at you. She said,
I'm gonna be honest with you. Lovey he's the guy that he's like, hey, let's do this and we should do a business. He's very entrepreneurial and in his way of thinking. Me, I was more on the consumer side. He's like, no, we need to change that type of thinking. So it was really his idea more than mine to make it an official type of business. We've always, as far as like with Married into Crazy, what we do coaching. It's always been more unofficial. We've, talked with couples throughout our marriage and but he was just like, no, we know what we're doing. We finna do this, and do the podcast and blah, blah, blah. And I just was like, oh, okay. I ain't gonna say I was yipping and skipping to do it. And he was practically pulling me by my hair, almost caveman style to get it going. But
there were no spouses were harmed in
the making of this brand.
I related to that very, very strongly.
But it was an evolution. Originally, it was about a podcast. We, like you said, unofficially, we've been coaching couples for a very long time. And then it was like, we met with ET in San Francisco and saw the group there, and not as a business meeting, but it was like as a conference. And we came out of that. And I was like, let's just do a podcast. Let's reach more couples. We feel like we had been blessed and gone through some stuff. And the reason that we had gone through it was to really act as a guide, if you will, for other couples. And so let's reach more individuals. The podcast grew with no monetization. insight or in mind, went from that to let's coach. And then it went to, okay, from coaching, then it became, oh, we can do clothing off of the logo and the branding. And then it was, no, we can teach further. We can have an evergreen. So it really began to evolve, but it started with with the brand. The brand was, we have a purpose. And from that purpose, the trunk, if you will, then the branches began to grow.
Yeah. So how did you, because I love the kind of like the slow progression of let's do a podcast, let's grow our pillars. And then from there, we'll eventually get into monetization. So trying to make it, functional and applicable for other couples watching this, how did you determine what your tree trunk was, what your brand was, and how you stumbled upon, Married into Crazy and those 5 pillars? How do you go from we're a couple, we're individuals, this is what we stand for, to transforming that into a brand?
I wish I could tell you that there was a very calculated methodology to it. But honestly, it was our calling called us. It was, we had a calling. And you know what? It's about being your true authentic selves. There was a calling on our spirits, and we answered that calling. And from that calling, things developed. But it had to have a sense of authenticity, and we had to be true to what God was calling us to do.
Yeah.
Kind of like Lovey said, there was, on my perspective, there was no one certain thing that happened, and we had like, okay, now it was just like maybe some aha moments, like, oh, okay, it was just something innately dropped in our spirits, mine anyway. And then we took that path. Okay, so we're here. Oh, maybe that makes sense. Okay, well, let's do that. Oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Let's do that. So
we do believe it was divine, because we didn't sit down and say, okay, we want to start a business. We need to do something for the family, and let's build a business plan. Oh, you want to do this? No. I want to do this? No. It wasn't a checklist. It was just that there's a calling. We wanted to bless others, and it enriched us in the process to work with other couples to help them, because we love doing that. And then as that happened, other things were revealed, like, oh, have you ever thought of this? And a lot of what we do now, the monetization pieces, it wasn't necessarily our idea. It was clients or people that we worked with. Like, have you guys thought about doing this? Because we do that. We buy that. And like, oh, yeah. Okay.
No, I never thought of it. So,
we'll do that then, And as long as, there were some ideas, there's some stuff that we didn't implement. But the things that made sense that weren't a far stretch from what we were doing, it's an add-on. It's not our main focus is always staying true to the covenant of marriage and building. And then if these other things augment our main focus, then we evaluate it and decide whether or not we want to add it.
There was a time when we were literally all sharing that room together. And that was a time where I was, flat broke. Me and the queen had no, what's it called? No furniture, really. We had a mattress
on the floor.
Mattress on the floor. Yeah, some speakers from the thrift store.
It's not even let me really paint the picture for y'all. Was it a box spring? I don't know if it was a box spring. I think you just had 2 mattresses. One that was like a full size, and then one that was a twin. That was the thing that was unique about it.
Really?
Yes, I will never forget it. It was like a twin on top of a full. So it was like, yes, I will never forget that. Like that's how we was living, on the floor, on the carpet.
We weren't that far off, because he had a futon.
Yeah, I got a futon passed down to me. Yeah.
But it was broken in the middle. Like there was like panels missing, so you kind of like sunk into it, and I was always just like, I gotta love this man, because I'm sleeping on the futon.
Oh my gosh, I've had the same thought.
And I was like, well,
Look, I'll be looking back, especially whenever he calls me bougie. I'm just like, do you understand like the love I have for you because of the things we've been through? I look back at the living situations we've been in. Like, that's love. Don't call me bougie.
Yes.
Look, I have a
after that.
Yeah, I have a line in a song where I say EBT sponsored food all up in my cabinets. Love will make a bougie chick live just like a savage. Right? So I think that coming from where all of us came from, like we were broke college students, right? But I think we all knew where we wanted to go. I think we all saw the marriage, the family, the lifestyle that we all wanted to live, and we knew we would get there eventually. And like Megan just said, like, this is my person that I can go through the mud with. This is the person that I can go to the top of the mountain with. I can travel to Dominican Republic with. I can travel to Greece with. I can travel to Spain with someday, right? So I want to kind of zoom, because we went through memory lane on the brokenness, right? But now all 4 of us are real estate owners.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. All 4 of us are now LLC owners and business owners.
Yep.
Right. So I want to kind of learn from you all a little bit, and you let me know which one you want to dive into first. We can go trucking or we can go the real estate. But how did y'all get started in either industry? How did you come up with the mindset of, hey, queen, hey, king, this is what we're about to invest in together?
I think, well, starting with real estate, I think that was like our first, if we're going chronologically, where we first dived into. And for me, I was always focused on owning a house. I think he was too, like having something that you were going to own. I had all my friends moving out, getting these cute apartments. I was at home. I was, dang, that's like, this is so cute. I want to have my space. I'm like stepping on my parents' toes. But I knew that I didn't want to pay towards something that I was never going to have ownership in. And that like irked my soul, because I mean, people call me frugal and I'm okay with that. But I like calculate, like, okay, if I put even just 1,000, even if rent is only 1,000, which we know today, very hard to find. Right. I'm just like, I'm putting $12,000 a year towards something that I'm never going to have, like that. I just couldn't sit with that. And I know, when after we got married, Danny was also very much looking into ownership, wanting to own something. And so he brought up the idea of the duplex. I was more looking for like house, townhouse, whatever I can get my hands on that I could afford. And then after we got married, then you were kind of like, I don't know how you came up with the idea or what you looked into, because he's always researching something. But he was like, you know, I think we should get a duplex or, you know, something. And I was like, a duplex? Like, oh, you know, and then he's like, yeah, we should get it. And then, you know, maybe we can like rent out some of it or have the extra space, whatever. And so then, you know, I kind of was like, of course, for me, I'm like, that means I could save money. Like, okay, like,
right, talking your language.
Like, I could have my space and you know, have someone else pay for my mortgage. Facts, let me do that. So then I think that's when we dived into the idea of like, how can we get something, own something, and then have somebody else help us pay for it. So I don't know how you came up with duplex,
I think
but
because like it was not too long after I started. It was probably like a year after I started my job, just into my career. Megan's doing her thing, and we met with her grandpa, who's like a financial advisor. You know, had a long career in this, helped all these people manage all these
millionaires
accounts, millionaires. So we were like, okay, let's hit up grandpa. Let's sit with him.
I forgot about that.
So we met with him at a coffee shop. We brought, you know, kind of everything to him, like, hey, this is how much we make, these are expenses, this is what we plan to do. Like
our debt, we brought our debt. It's when we were consolidating everything. We're like, okay, we're married now. We're bringing each other together. That's it.
We're like, so what do you think? Like, what? And then he was like, yeah, you guys can afford a house.
He shut us down. He was like, there's no way you're going to be
house poor.
Yeah. You're just going to be, it's like, okay, say you get a house. You're in a house and then you're going to be on the floor. You're not going to be able to eat out. You're not going to be able to do anything. You're just going to be in your house. It's like, I don't think that's the lifestyle you guys want to live. And
I felt like I was like heartbroken.
He was so heartbroken.
It's like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in my career, making all this money, doing this, like, and then I was living at home too. Yeah, so we was blessed in that situation. So we're able to save and do things like that. So I was like, okay, cool. And then just hearing that, I was just like so kind of beat up, just like
I thought we could still do it
mentally after. Yeah,
but he was like, I was like, no, I don't like someone telling me I can't do something.
Because in my head is like this expert, you know, he just like, you know, he's seeing this, and then, you know, just having, she still had like a positive mindset, you know, that was always helpful too. And usually me, I'll feel down about something for a second, and then I'm like, all right, so how can I fix this? What's the change? Like, what's the course of action? So, you know, just doing my research, looking up podcasts and different things like that. just educating myself, and then I came across owning multi-unit properties and kind of looking into it, and then saw a duplex. I'm like, oh, somebody else pays most of the rent. I'm like, and then I started asking people. Some people at my church, Brother Farrell. I've always known him to have properties in the community in Compton, near our church, and he was always so helpful. He would rent it out to people at church that were having some difficulties and different things like that. So I hit him up. I was like, "Hey, Brother Farrell, I know you have different properties. Like, you got a second to talk to me?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," and he's like telling me about it, kind of explaining it, how to raise the rent, how to refinance, everything, like kind of basically how he did it, take equity out. And then from there, just took notes and kind of did our research, and was brought it to Megan, and she accepted it, which is, I was very appreciative and happy of that. Because some people, they just have that goal, like, oh, I just want a house in their head, like they don't want to deal with it. They're like, oh, it's risky, and they've never thought about it, so that are seen anybody do it, so they're scared of it. And so I was able to tell her that, hey, our first home, it doesn't have to be our dream house. We could just be just a wealth builder. We'll be in it for a while. This is what a lot of people do. Then they do this, and they're able to get more, and eventually get into that dream house paid for. So I gave her the plan, kind of explained everything to her. I explained, hey, these are the people I talked to, these are the people that's done it. And then just from my line of work, I meet people too that's have done it. So when I'm out in the field working, I always run into these people. And then one lady who I met, this older Black lady, she was like, oh, if you see any house this specific color in the community, it's guaranteed it's probably mine. And that always stuck to me.
Wow.
There's a lot of houses this color. I'll be driving around seeing them. So I was helping her with her issue. So I've seen the issues. I know the issues firsthand. But I was just like, hey, so how did you do this? She's like, oh, yeah, me and my husband, we first had this, and then we bought an apartment, and then we lived in an apartment for a little while, and then we bought this. And she was kind of just breaking down that process, and it was similar. So I've seen the people do it. I've seen older people like gain wealth from it and talked about that processes. So it was just something that we kind of put together and looked into it, and just kind of went from there and took action.
There's a lot of nuggets in that, and I see we have a few folks that are watching live. If y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them inside the comments, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. But one, I love that y'all sought counsel.
Yes,
right.
I was going to
So
say that.
the grandfather and even the church members and people within the community, like you're asking questions and you're figuring out like, all right, what's the best way to do this? What's our situation? Number two, more particularly for Megan, you were flexible with the dream, right? I want a house. I want to get something. But once your husband came to you, your partner came to you with another route of still getting to the dream, it just looks a little bit different. You were still open to that. And then the third one, which I think can be an entire new podcast in itself, is y'all consolidated the finances and consolidated debt, which growing up, my parents kept their money 100% separate. We keep our money mostly together, but even some of the debt still separated. So I think there's a lot of things that we can talk about with even learning the pros and cons of putting debt together. But the fact that y'all had that conversation, you're like, you know what? We're building wealth together. So your wealth is my wealth. Your debt is my debt. We are one, I think is also very, very beautiful. Queen, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was going to bring up the point as well as having the seeking out help. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of folks, I think they just look at their immediate circle and well, I don't know anybody. Okay, I guess I can't do this, or go to YouTube or something. But YouTube is great. That's a great place to start too. But I mean, what you saying, starting with your family, and then, okay, well, you have other communities, right? Then you went to church, okay, church, who at church do I know that owns properties? Okay. At your job, I feel like we all interact with people on a daily basis. You just have to kind of have that courage to just be like, hey, I have questions, right? I feel like it's hard, especially in our community, to reach out for help and just be that person to say I don't know, can you tell me, can you let me know your experience? But it's so important to get that exposure to ask those questions and get somebody's experience firsthand, because I feel like that it does something different than watching a YouTube video. I feel like watching a YouTube video, it's still semi theoretical, because it's I don't know this person. I can't hit them up and ask them a question, right? But these people in your community, they may or may not be multimillionaires with a whole bunch of properties, but they
Yep.
have 1 and you have 0. So that's someone
Yeah.
you can learn from.
Yeah, that's good, Jarius. That's good. I love the lessons you're able to learn, not from what my dad or what my mom's telling me, but what I'm watching, what I'm seeing.
Right.
That's real.
Yeah.
All right, Julius, take us home. Take us home.
Okay, so personally, I think the biggest lesson I've learned from them is that the biggest thing that we carry in this life is next to our faith is our name. So like our last name, for instance, he's created a family creed, and a few of the principles is he said Roman X exists to serve God by embracing our purpose and by not being afraid to put our best foot forward. Oh yeah, to put our best foot forward and to serve God by doing so. And then you I'm getting tongue tied. Give me a second. Leave the world better than we found it. So don't just be a taker in this life. There are so many people that can take, but the more you give, the more people will give to you. So it's kind of like how he said, money and wealth is a mindset. It's kind of the same thing with our last name. The more that you pour into people, the more that you do community with other people, people are gonna pour into you. The way you carry your last name, the way you carry yourself, it speaks louder than your mouth will ever will.
Yes, sir. Way to end it strong, Julius. Shout out to the Romanek family creed. Right, y'all exist to serve God. Love the creed.
You got helping each other out back there, like y'all know. I love it. I love it. We definitely have talked about wanting to do that. So it's inspirational to see not only do you carry a lot of respect for your name, and then you have the creed. You make sure your children know the creed. Like I could just imagine how proud you are as parents to hear them talk about being able to see you and your grind and how that's inspiring them. So that one.
Hey, I'm shocked. I'm sitting here saying, "Oh, y'all listening?" Yeah. Hey, I just throw this out there too. Like several of them have tried their hand, are trying their hand at entrepreneurship right now while they're in school. So Tony graduated from Southern Miss. Here, Jarius right now is at James Madison University on a full scholarship, and Julius is at Southern Miss. And so, as college students, they have some entrepreneur endeavors going as we speak.
Love it. Congrats. Come on, the whole family's grinding. Whole family, love to see it. So I want to start getting into the meat of today, right? And talking about the legacy of Tulsa's Black Wall Street as y'all see it in your eyes, and why y'all felt so moved by this history to name your biggest to date that I know of. Man, y'all can let me know if there's other projects. Project Greenwood Plaza, right? The Linked Up Empowerment Center. Talk to us about how you all learned about Tulsa Black Wall Street and what inspired you to name your new construction after Greenwood.
Man, so just being a reader, I came across Tulsa, Oklahoma, and there were other communities like that, in the United States as well, thriving Black communities. As a response to segregation, Blacks were, relegated to a certain part of the community. And those Blacks with ingenuity decided that they weren't just going to die, they were going to thrive. And they decided to go into business. During the time of segregation, during the time of Jim Crow, during the time that the government foot was on the Black man's neck at the time, but these people still thrive, right, underneath the worst conditions. And so that was inspirational to me, that if God would bless our ancestors during that time to overcome all of those barriers, not only to just survive, but to thrive, how much more could we do today when things are not so hard pressed as they were back then. And so the spirit of that is what captured me. And I wanted to take that spirit and just, if you will, just throw it out in the community. Because where I come from, right? I didn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, right? And nor the people around me were born with silver spoons in their mouth, right? And so if our ancestors back in the 1920s and earlier could thrive, it didn't matter that I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. And all the excuses and all of the barriers that I was facing really didn't matter, because they were under worse conditions than I was, and they still thrived. So we face redlining, right? Where banks refuse to give loans to African Americans who lived in a certain side of the community, right? We experienced banks charging us higher interest rates than our white counterparts. We experienced banks telling us no, even though we were still qualified. We experienced our houses being underappraised when they found out that that blacks lived in the neighborhood. That neighborhoods are decreased by 50% when it becomes 50% African American occupied. All things being equal, the only difference, the properties are valued at what they're valued at, but the fact that African American family living there, and this is not my opinion. These are stats. These are facts, right? And so, even with all of those things in our face, our ancestors had it worse than that, and they still thrive. So that's why I wanted to reach back and pull that into the future, into the present, and say they did it, so can you. And it really doesn't matter that much the barrier that you're facing, because they did it under worse conditions. So that's the sense of pride. That's the sense of personal responsibility. That's the sense of the essence that this Greenwood Plaza embodies. That's why the name. That's where the inspiration came from.
Ashe. And I don't know if you probably read this in your history as well, but the name even Greenwood, as for our listeners, originally came from Mississippi.
Greenwood, Mississippi. Absolutely.
All right. So it's all right. One more time, Queen Liz.
I said I have roots there. I have family who actually live
there. Wow. So I love how it's literally full circle, how Greenwood, Mississippi was able to inspire Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that issue was able to inspire it coming back to its home place. Love it. Look, we're gonna get right back into the amazing podcast. But if you didn't know, in 2017, we created Black Wall Street, the board game, because we thought more families needed to know about the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. More families needed to know about the legacy of Black excellence left behind of Tulsa Black Wall Street, that we can own a Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Salon. We can have a Booker T. Washington High School. We can have an Uncle Steve's Barbecue. We can have a Renaissance man like Simon Berry, who had his own taxi service and bus service that got bought out by the city of Tulsa. We have brilliance in our DNA. We wanted to make sure that your family can play a game that teaches them about this brilliance. So we have Black Wall Street, the board game, right here. We had the first edition available in 2017. That got sold out. We're on the second edition right now, or you can get the beautiful masterpiece version of the game as well. It's up to you. Head to playblackwallstreet.com and get yourself Black Wall Street, the board game, to empower you, your family, and generations to come. Playblackwallstreet.com. Let's get back to the episode. But I want to get into the episode, right? So today we have Ray and Sahat from Collective Consciousness, who are going to give us a deep dive into spiritual wealth and self-mastery. Let's welcome Ray and Sahat to the podcast. There they go. How y'all living?
We are magnificent. How is everyone?
Bless. You said flowing or glowing?
Flowing, yes. Flowing with the rhythm of the cosmos.
Ooh. So we diving right into it. We is going right into it. So talk to us about how you found the rhythm of the cosmos.
Well, first of all, we just want to introduce ourselves real quick to your audience. I'm Ray.
And I'm Sahat.
And we're your favorite spiritual couple.
Yes.
Come on.
And so yeah, you want to talk about finding the rhythm of the cosmos?
Yes. So we all have heard the song "Row, Row, Row Your Boat." Now think about that song from an esoteric standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Now you're not fighting against the current, you are flowing with the rhythm of the current. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. What is the dream? You are in a flow state. You are happy. You are expressing gratitude. When you express gratitude, you are a super magnet. We are all magnets. So depending on what it is that you are putting out in the universe, even with your thoughts, you are attracting that very thing.
Absolutely. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. Anything that was ever created was first created as a thought. I want y'all to let that sit for a second. Everything that was ever created, right? We are all gods around here. If we weren't, we'd be sitting in this simulation with nothing around us. Every single item that ever existed was first thought about. You know what I'm saying?
The glass, the M4 show, the StreamYard platform, the computer,
These
the internet. Everything down to everything that we wear, it was all constructed in the mental plane.
Here first.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Like when someone hears that and they're listening to this podcast and everything is mental, everything starts at a thought. What does that mean on how you should operate or advice on navigating this mental plane?
That's a beautiful question.
Love that question.
So I like to call it the triad. So let's pretend this is a triangle right here, right? At the top of the triangle is your focus, right? This corner of the triangle is your language. And then the other part of the triangle is your state, or also known as your physiology. Those three components is what creates the manifestation. So what you continuously focus on, right, determines the language that you use, which also determines your state. So let me break each one of those down. Focus. A lot of us sit here and tend to, and I wanted to talk about this a little bit later, incantations. So I'll go deeper a little later, but just to give you a little taste right now.
Okay.
It's something that you continuously repeat with emotion in your mind, right? Or even out loud. And your subconscious mind absorbs all the information that goes on that leaves your mouth, right? Or the thoughts that you were continuously having. Your subconscious mind keeps record of all of that. So what you continuously focus on begins to thus manifest because your subconscious mind is doing the work to bring that energy into your reality. So what you focus on is hugely important, and what you're focusing on determines the language that you use. If you're focusing on lack, right? If you're focusing on scarcity, if you're focusing on fear, your language determines that. Well, I don't want to do that because I don't know, or maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe it's not going to work out. That's not for me, right? All of that is your language. And like I said, your unconscious and your subconscious mind are taking notes. And every time you say something like, oh, Master said this, you're the captain of the ship. And so the crew is taking notes like, okay, well, the captain said, we got to do this. We got to do this. So your language is very important. You want to be able to speak life, not speak lack.
So mind if I step in here real quick?
Yeah, I do have one more point.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So the last part is physiology. So what is your body doing, right? If you notice when your head's slumped, your head's down, your shoulders are slumped, and you kind of stick your gut out a little bit, you shuffle around, you feel sluggish.
Yeah.
You feel low, you feel depressed, right? But all you got to do, throw them shoulders back, put that chin up, and it immediately changes your state. It immediately changes how you feel. You feel more confident, you feel more powerful. You know what I'm saying? So those three things is what creates the manifestation: your focus, your physiology, and your language.
even though you don't think about it now, that made an impactful difference. When I was young, I would go to my Uncle Jim's store in the summertime and work at Jimmy's, right? Like, my uncle owns this, right? Like, he had multiple businesses when people weren't owning businesses. And so now I laugh when he had talked about other properties. I'm like, wow, Uncle Jim, I should have taken advantage of that. But that foundation of the long game, right? It is a marathon, not a sprint. And to underscore the notion of delaying a little bit for long-term benefit. And I think that's something that we were instilled in our families, and we try to instill that in our sons and the people that we touch. And also to gain, similar to this podcast, what it means is if people have knowledge to share it with others, right? So who has been successful that we know to ask for advice, to say, what do you do, right? So I think it is not only if God has blessed you that you share what you know and your wisdom, whether it's finance or education, right? You don't keep it to yourself. So I think that's something that we have always strived for.
Oh, yeah, and the word that's coming to my mind is just exposure.
Yeah.
Right. Just being exposed to the conversation, maybe not getting into the nuts and bolts all the time, but being surrounded by people that are talking about saving, talking about entrepreneurship, and seeing that. So what I want to do is try to expose some folks to retirement planning and maybe some specific pathways that they can take. Miss Sandra, you know, me and you've been on the phone and you've given me game. And we on the phone for like almost 2 hours, just don't give me game on just insurance plays, mutual fund, getting a wealth strategist, just investing in real estate early. So I want to help see if we can spill some of that game that you've given me on the phone over to the podcast. Starting off with, you talked about mutual funds. If this is somebody's, first exposure, thank you, Queen, to what a mutual fund is, do you mind kind of just, high level, what is a mutual fund and how does one invest inside of a mutual fund?
So a couple of things. We were fortunate enough that we had a really good friend who was a good financial advisor that said, Sandra, you all are putting your money in a savings account that is getting little to no interest, right? In a mutual fund, you're investing your income to have a higher return, right? And so at that time when Tim said, when we were in our 20s, rather than just putting it in our Wells Fargo, we picked a mutual fund. I can't remember it now.
It was 20th Century Ultra.
Right.
I remember.
And it probably had like a 20% yield at that time.
So we were fortunate right before it yielded. So we're like, bam, right? Had we just, again, not knowing and been like, okay, what are we willing to risk? And we learned from that to say, okay, that set us up. We got married in August. We bought this house in October.
Wow.
Right?
In the Bay Area.
That we had that foundation. The other thing that I will say is, and Tim was probably more disciplined about this than me, is that don't go broke for a one-day wedding. Right? Yeah. And so you have to be realistic to say, this is one event of our lifetime, but we're going to invest $20,000 on one day. And maybe it could be just as beautiful with 10. And then I have a nest egg, right? So here you've spent, everyone has pulled their resources together to give you this incredible wedding. And now we don't have anything to begin our journey together. Yeah. Right? So that, I think, is the first important advice. I'll let Tim say how we were strategic on saving for our family in terms of a 529, what we did a month after Timothy was born.
So I mean, there's several different strategies. I mean, one is that obviously just putting money aside for a rainy day. We all know that. And it's depending upon one's budget. It's depending upon what you're able to save. We all kind of know what our household expenses are, what we have left over, what we choose to do with those reserves is totally up to us. So whether that goes into a bank account, whether that goes into a mutual fund, whether you purchase, life insurance and life insurance more so with an annuity where you're even able to pull out money at some point in time.
Hold on, Sam. You going
dropping
quick.
the words, the gems.
You're going real quick. So I'm gonna rewind. One, have a budget. That's something that you said, right? You need to know what your household is spending money on, how much you have to invest in a mutual fund. Next step number 2 is put that money somewhere, save it into some type of long-term vehicle. And then you mentioned life insurance and annuities for people who maybe this is their first exposure to what life insurance is. I know for me, for a long time, I promise you, I thought life insurance was a scam. I just did, because all the people, like, they would always call, they would knock on the door. Everyone that I knew that was selling life insurance, it was a little iffy. So I was like, I'm good. Until finally I talked to Sandra and she was like, no, meet with this wealth financial advisor, go through these steps. You need life insurance. I was like, okay, I trust you. Let's do it. But I don't think everyone's exposed to that knowledge. So if you don't mind just breaking down life insurance and annuities for folks high level.
Can I take it a step backwards even before that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Right. So as Sandra talked about financial planner. So I would suggest sitting down with a financial planner, and that could be someone that's in your local bank. That could be someone that you just kind of pick up the phone and you find out that this person can kind of help you with wealth. And when people think of wealth management, they kind of think, oh, I don't got nothing to really, I don't have nothing, so why am I going to meet with a wealth manager? Well, it's simple. It's because you're building wealth.
Facts.
So what you're doing at that point in time is you're sitting down with that individual. And for us, I think maybe one of the first questions was, okay, so you're 30 years old. When do you want to retire? At what age do you want to retire? What is your yearly income at this point? So it's taking a bunch of information that you have, sharing it with that individual. They then kind of come back to you with, this is your net worth. This is how much you owe on your home. This is how much you owe in student loans. It's almost like a real live credit report based on your personal finances. At that point, you kind of see that there's disposable income available. Okay, however much money I'm bringing home, I have an extra $2,300 a month that's just kind of sitting dormant. That's haircut money, is shoe money, it's whatever. But with that extra money, now you tend to think of a way of what are avenues in which I can save that money. Now, talking about life insurance, I want to break it down kind of in the most simplest form. Life insurance is simply, it can be a way to replace income, not only income, but more ways, a way to kind of assist a family in need. If just something catastrophic happens tomorrow, you're able, by having life insurance, you're ensuring yourself that you will continue to have, if not more, the same income available with the loss of your partner. And it happens in various ways. I mean, there are policies that are $50,000. There are policies that are, up to millions of dollars. It all depends on what you want and what you can afford. But for the most part, it's something just kind of necessary in a sense to think about, if something were to happen to me, how would my family continue to survive without my financial contribution on a monthly, yearly basis? I still want them to have the same quality of life, if not better. So you look at that as being a tool to kind of simply help you as you start to plan for your future. Maybe the family is okay financially, but now the next step of that is thinking, how am I going to be able to pay for these children to go off to college? That may be another realm to think about in terms of insurance for the most part. But again, it's
one of many parts, but not the whole, right? The key thing for us was we got it at 30, right? Early on, right? So we can check that box, right? That we've done that. We've put that aside for if if for something catastrophic would happen, we have that. And the fact that we got it younger, then it's cheaper, right? Than when we're older. So again, and as we think now about how we plan, it's about what things do we want to have in place. So early on, we had a person, okay, it was maybe $20 a month. Boom. Okay, we now have that insurance. Check that off our list on the long-term game. For Timothy, when he was born, a month later, Tim said, again, our financial advisor, someone that we trusted, someone that we asked around, who do you trust? We said, we want to ensure that we have money set aside for Timothy to go to college. Similar to what Tim said, our financial advisor said, what are your goals, Sandra? Where do you envision Timothy might go to college in 18 years? Is that a Stanford? Is that a UC Berkeley? Okay, we think at our best guesstimate, that might be $150,000. That's our goal to get to, right? We opened up the 529. We put a little amount every month. Timothy knows if he gets money, it goes to your 529, right?
Nice.
He's not always not happy about that. I have to put it in there, right? But that's what he's been exposed to, an expectation. Fast forward to now, our financial advisor, you're on track to exceed what you have done, right? So you start early, right? And then we said, can he use it for studying abroad? They're like, yes. Could he use it for high school tuition? Yes. Again, not knowing at that time, we just said, we want to put something away so that he knows. And we also share with him, like, we want him to, it's important for our kids who had more than what our parents were able to give to understand hard work.
And there's just something missing. There's just, I don't feel the same. Like it was.
And mind you, the first day I get home, I'm exhausted. I just been on a plane for 36 hours, right? I'm exhausted. I get home. He's talking. No, stop.
I'm saving all them words just for you.
Right. Built up all these things.
Oh my goodness. I was like, oh, you missed me, huh?
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, but it was really good. But I do want to, put it lens back on y'all. Y'all talked about being able to, spend time together, be corny together. And I think starting a business together is an interesting place because you do get to do something that I think y'all both love for different reasons together, spend that time together, and then business is business, right? So a lot of things come up within that field. Can you talk about one, why you decided to start a business together? And then I want to kind of get into maybe some pros, some cons, some benefits, some things that aren't working. Y'all still trying to work on. I see you, Carrie. She said, but yeah, I guess first step. Why did y'all decide to start Authentic Palm Photo together?
You want to start or you?
You do it.
All right. So when we got married, we got married super young.
Yeah,
at 17.
I know, that's what it felt like, right?
Might as well have been.
We were married 22. And so we were,
broke.
Yeah, broke. I mean,
just graduated from college.
Yeah, ain't no way to talk about it other than saying the truth, right? We were just broke. We had no money, right? So
no dollars.
No dollars.
I had no job.
Just to clarify.
It's real talk, right? She had no job. I was starting my doctoral program.
Yes.
And so I wasn't working. She didn't have a job, and we just got married. So we had a kid too, right?
Yep.
So it's this is all bad, right? Pretty much it's
this broke.
Yeah.
This where we are.
Yeah, pretty much. So we started from way back.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't afford, long story short, man, really couldn't afford all the nice trappings of a big wedding, right? So, we had a photographer and everything, but we didn't have video. Didn't have
Uncle Charles.
Yeah, we had Uncle Charles in the video on the handy cam, whatever. So, but I mean, you didn't have all the
that part right there. Yeah,
you didn't have all the super nice trappings, right? So, about a year after we got married. Well, let me just paint it this way. I want to answer your question. Your question was why. The why really was this. We wanted to give couples something that was really, really nice, really high quality, without making them feel like they had to mortgage their entire future for it, right? Because wedding photography, wedding videography, just kind of weddings in general just costs a ton of money, right? And so we started looking at that and we're like, why does it have to cost this much, right? Like there's a way to provide a quality product that you can look back as a timeless memory, and it doesn't have to be like I've mortgaged my whole future to do it, right? There's a way to do that.
Because there's life after the wedding.
Right.
It's not all on the wedding day. You gotta there's stuff that's got to be done.
Right. And so in terms of like why do we get into it, or how did that kind of evolve? Honestly, man, I'm 100%, no lie. It was all God. It was all God, right? I got, I can't put it on anything else. God orchestrated that whole thing. This is a long story, very, very short. We had been at the church we were going to at the time. There was a couple there. Shout out to Bill and Glenda Pedersen. Big shout out to Bill and Glenda Pedersen. There was a couple that was going there who was having, their daughter was getting married. And I was on the video ministry at the church. I had done some things, for the video ministry, but nothing serious, right? Just some basic stuff.
Playing around
with the youth. Yeah, playing around with the youth and stuff like that. So Bill Pedersen comes up to me, and he's like, hey, he said, can you all shoot a wedding for me? And I had never shot a wedding. I never shot anything like that. And I was just like, and one of the things I figured out too is that folks don't like to be honest sometimes about what they have or have not done. It's like, no, don't say that. Don't say that. Just tell you. I was like, no, that's what's going to be honest when I say I've never shot a wedding, bro. I've never done it. And he's like, well, could you shoot my daughter's wedding? And I was like, let me reiterate to you, bro. Like, I've never done it. And then he said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He goes, I just want you to do it. I really believe in you, and I believe in the work you do. I just want you to do it. And so I was like, let me ask the wife, right? So talk to her, and she's like, well, her thing was like, you've never done. I was like, I know, I've never done. So I don't know. I can tell him. And so she was like, well, we don't even have the right equipment. I was like, no, we don't have the right equipment or nothing like that. So I did some research, did some looking around. I found, a really good camera at the time, and it was like $2,500. And so I'm talking to her, and I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, that's like every penny we have to our name, right? So I was like, well, I said, maybe something will come out of it. So we just kind of like trusted, and just kind of invested in that thing. Pretty much every penny we had, got that camera, shot the wedding. It came out really nice. And literally, man, God just kept opening doors, Like somebody saw the wedding and was like, oh, that was really good. Can you do my wedding? I was like, sure. And then the next person, the next thing you know, because we had no advertising at the time. So essentially it was just all word of mouth. And God just kept opening the doors, man. The next thing you know, word of mouth turned into kind of a consistent income stream. And then we're like, well, let's kind of reinvest some. I guess we got a business, right? Let's kind of reinvest some of this into it. And then the next thing you know, we kind of actually formalized it and built it out, got the business licenses, did all the advertising, started working with different companies, started doing wedding shows, started building out our equipment base, building out the team. And next thing you know, man, it's 20 years later, bro. And this is it, right?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of keys there. So first off, the fact that you were already working in your gift or something that you found interesting with the church, right? I'm going to assume that was for free. You're just working with the kids, right?
Yeah, working with the kids, right? Working with the kids.
Having fun.
And then an opportunity was presented to you. You weren't 100% ready for the opportunity. Right. But you had the gifts equipped for the opportunity, right? Had the gifts ready, had the queen's support, and you just leaped. And I think sometimes people miss that part in business or entrepreneurship development. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has something that you're currently doing, but you will say no to opportunities because you don't think you're ready for it.
Right.
But like you said, God presented this opportunity to you. The universe presented this opportunity to you. And if you would have said no, we would not be here today. We would not have an amazing movie wedding video, and all the other couples out there that y'all have been able to impact wouldn't have those mementos. So kudos for y'all for just diving into it without being ready. Right. Love it.
Yeah. But that's, like I said, it was definitely a God thing, man. He moved amazingly in that situation.
He did.
And I think one thing he did in your favor, right, is he brought the message into someone who he knew you probably weren't gonna like jump at it initially, right? You're like, oh, I've never done it, right? But then he brought you someone who said that, but I believe in you, right? I believe in the work. And I think that, maybe that had an effect on like, okay,
It did.
all right, let's
It
go
did.
ahead. Yeah.
Hey, Sinclair, you're absolutely right. It did, because I'm telling you, look, your boy was like, I don't know, man. Like, I was like, I mean, like, I think I could do it. In my mind, I was like, I think I could do it. But I mean, definitely having him saying, no, I believe in you. I believe in what you can do. That made a difference. So, like I said, I forever am, they'll always have a special place in my heart. Bill and Glenda Pedersen and the Jardines. That was our first wedding, the Jardines. We were actually just, it was funny because we were, she was on Facebook the other day and saw them, and they have like 3 amazing kids now, and they're just growing and just such a beautiful family. And so, and every now and again, we look back at that first wedding, and it's funny because you look back at where you started and where you are. You're like, ooh, you're like, oh. They loved it though. They're like, oh, we love this. We love this. And I'm like, I'm glad y'all loved it. I'm like, we do a much better job.
Right. Go, renew your vows. We'll do it for you.
Right.
All right, folks. Again, that was a pretty good compilation video, right? Some of the best, most intentional episodes with married couples together. We had Joel in there, we had Daniel in there, we had Megan in there, we had Sahat in there. A lot of really good energy and wisdom. Go ahead and drop in your comments. Not who'd you like the best. That's rude. Let's not do that. That's not popularity. Yeah, that's not popularity. But what's a bit of advice that you listen to, that you watch, that you really want to make sure you apply to your marriage or to your wealth journey? Go ahead and put that below. After they put that comment, Queen, what should they also do on this video?
You should definitely like and subscribe to our channel.
For sure. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. We got plenty of content. And of course, when we come back from Aruba, we'll give y'all the full destination declare breakdown, the rating on the food, the capes, the culture, all that good stuff. So make sure y'all stay tuned. Of course, secure the marriage, secure the love, and of course, make sure y'all secure the bag. Peace.
Thank you for supporting the M4 show and our mission to increase the wealth of Black families.
If you received any value from this episode, any value at all, any, do us a favor and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple, Spotify, anything, all of them, all of them, wherever you're listening. Go ahead and like and subscribe.
And after you like and subscribe, make sure you send this episode to at least one family that you really want to see win. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.